Hi Divine Souls! I am back with another timeless pick a card reading. Back and better. It's been quite a while since my last reading, and I'll get into the reason why in a second. And that reason why is heavily tied into the topic of our timeless pick a card reading. And today's topic is transitions. What transitional period are you going through? Why are you experiencing this transition in your life? Advice from your spirit guides as to how to move past this period of transition, as well as what your life will look like after the transition period is over. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Katie. I am the creator of Divine Design Tarot, and I'm going to get honest and vulnerable here for a second. The reason why I am doing this reading topic is because it was inspired by my own life events. I'm currently going through a transitional period myself, and this left me feeling displaced. But at the same time, I felt a full range, a full spectrum of all the emotions: frustration, anger, sadness, disappointment. For me specifically, I was living independently away from my family in a completely new city. And because of certain events that transpired, I had to move back home. Move back in with my family. And when this first happened, it felt like a major disruption in my life. It made me reconsider a lot. It made me question the new identity that I had created outside of my hometown and being close to my family. So anyway, I won't go on and on about my personal experience because this reading is for you. I just wanted to mention that it was inspired by events going on in my own life, so I wanted to give back to other people who are also going through a transitional period with a sense of understanding and empathy for what you're currently going through. Now, this transitional period is going to be varied for all people watching this, and for each group in particular. It could be a transition having to do with your career, a relationship, moving physical locations, changing your major, changing the college that you go to, a transition in identity. For example, transitioning into the identity of being a parent. We'll get into that when we go into each group, but for now, I'm just keeping it simple since this is my first reading back in quite a while. I have the deck of cards here that will be shown in each group. So without further ado, this is group 1, 2, 3, and 4. Feel free to take a few deep breaths. Maybe meditate on this topic a little bit, on the topic of being in a transition in your life. Allow your intuition and your higher self to guide you to the group that has messages for you about this transitional period. Anyway, that's enough for this intro. Please feel free to pause the video, take as much time as you need to choose your group, and I will meet you at your reading. See you soon. Hi, my divine group number 1. So as you can see, we have the cards shuffled out for you, and let's see what these cards are. We have the Judgment card, the Death card in reverse, the Hermit card, and Temperance. And for your oracle cards, a bunch of these BuzzFeed oracle cards came out for you, and these will give some additional details as to what the transitional period is that you're currently going through. So I'm just going to leave these down here. We have Lord, take charge with authority. Just making some room here for the oracle cards. And we also have these two oracle cards here, the Emperor and the Persistent. Since we have all of the cards laid out here for you, I'm just going to explain what these cards symbolize. So the Judgment card here symbolizes the transition that you're currently going through. This card, the Death card in reverse, represents why you're going through this transition, what lessons you're meant to learn from going through this transitional period. This card right here is advice from your spirit guides of how to move forward, how to move on from this transitional period. And this card right here, Temperance, represents what your life will look like after the transitional period is over. Okay, my divine group number one, I'm going to get started now. I'm just going to connect with the energies of the cards, and then I'll get into explaining what they mean in just 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to read left to right, starting with the Judgment card. This card is representing the transitional period that you're currently experiencing. And feel free to take this section as confirmation that you chose the right group. You'll know if you did, if you resonate with the messages I give with this card. Okay, so with the Judgment card, I was getting the messages from your spirit guides that this transitional period has a lot to do with physical security, or rather feeling like you're either in between jobs and in between homes, but it has to do with this idea of physical security, or more so feeling a lack of physical security because things feel up in the air. But we have these messages are coming out with the Judgment card. And what the Judgment card really talks about is going through trials and tribulations, challenges in your life, because you're being encouraged to answer some kind of call. Some kind of call is waking you up, waking up a version of yourself where you feel like you're the inner authority. I am feeling very connected to the imagery of this card. As you can see, this figure is wearing a crown. And we have a lot more crown symbology in this reading, but I'll get into that later on. So it's almost the universe. I mean, I don't really like to perceive the Judgment card as you're being tested, more like you have a chance to reaffirm the identity, the reality, the life that you want to step into, reaffirming that to the universe, making it certain, making it stable, firm, consistent. Are you willing to listen to your own inner authority of what steps to take next? For example, what home, what job to choose next? If you are in that in-between state, instead of listening to other people, outside sources, the external world. I feel like this group may have a tendency to listen to other people's opinions, their advice, but this period of your life is really a challenge for you to look within yourself and ask, what do I really want? Not only what do you want, but who you will have to be, who will you become in aligning with what you want. And we have that message of who will you become in alignment with the choices that you're making to move beyond this in-between state with the Death card. Now, the Death card came out in the reverse position. I am taking it in the reverse meaning, but honestly, the messages that I was getting are pretty mixed. They're nuanced. So what I was getting from this Death card is the reason why you are in this transitional period where you feel like you're in between jobs, in between homes, for example, is because you're basically being encouraged to make space. Making space for something new to sprout. I feel like the past job or home that you had before was no longer serving you. So it's almost like letting that period of your life be complete, letting it die out. And with that period leaving your life, a version of yourself is also being encouraged to metaphorically die. So that really is what the Death card is about. People sometimes are afraid of this card, but it really talks about personal transformation. And especially with this card being in the reverse position, sometimes when I see cards in their reverse position, I take it as something going on with your subconscious. So in connection to that message that I just gave, I feel like this is going to be a rebirth that is starting within your subconscious. So it's like you're retraining your subconscious, reprogramming your subconscious to match a new identity, a new version of yourself. And this new version of yourself is in alignment with the next job or home, whatever that means for physical security that you desire. And also I'm hearing that this transitional period is encouraging you to leave behind the practice of settling for less, settling for something that is comfortable, settling for the easy way out or the easy route, which may be related to listening to other people's opinions, their advice. Interesting. And if you notice in the imagery here, we also have a crown made of antlers. And the way I perceive the symbology of antlers is being connected to divine communication, receiving channeled messages, communication from beyond that starts from your internal mind, so to speak. So you're receiving those messages from within. It's not necessarily someone talking at you, telling you you should do this, you should do that. Being connected to your own intuition, your inner wisdom, your divine authority. That message of authority keeps coming back around. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this group is being encouraged to take on some type of leadership role. And I'm feeling some resistance here. That is also what the Death card in reverse can be talking about. Some resistance to this identity change, because it might mean more work, more responsibility, more people looking to you for answers rather than you getting answers from someone else. Interesting. Okay, so the next card we have here is the Hermit, and I'm also taking it in the reverse position. So remember, this card represents the advice your spirit guides are giving you of how to move forward from this period of transition. With the Hermit card in the reverse position, this suggests that this period of transition, of feeling a lack of physical security, encouraged you to self-isolate, but in a way that encourages, that supports self-analysis. Because that is what the Hermit card is really about. It's being alone in solitude, not lonely. Keep in mind, choosing to be alone at peace in moments of solitude, in moments of meditation, and you're really looking within yourself for the answers. And with this card being in the reverse position, this indicates that once you're done going through that self-reflection, like, okay, what do I really want in this next stage in my life? What choices do I want to make in getting that new home or new job, whatever it is related to physical security? What calls out to my heart, my intuition? What feels aligned with this new version of myself that I am becoming? Someone who isn't afraid of authority, who is ready to take on a position of leadership, who's ready to accept the responsibility of making independent choices. And once you're done going through that self-reflection, this talks about expressing that insight and that wisdom that you gained during that period of solitude. So the way out of this period of transition is by expressing what you have learned. Now, this could be through your physical choices, through the decisions that you make after doing this period of reflection. But this can also talk about expressing your true desires, your true needs, wants, goals for the future to trusted individuals. And honestly, I feel called to say this. I feel like this is coming through from your spirit guides. But you're not obligated to tell anyone your plans for the future, what you're intending to do. I feel like maybe this self-expression is more so about letting them know that you're going to rely on yourself, your inner wisdom, your authority, your intuition to guide you out of this period of transition instead of listening to their advice. And I feel like by doing this is already stepping into a new version of yourself. Because beforehand, it feels like you may have felt obligated to respect other people's opinions, their suggestions, their advice for how you go about life, what job you have, what house you have, trusting their vision for your own sense of physical security. Okay, so moving on to the next card here, we have Temperance. And just a reminder, this card represents what your life will look like after the transition period is over, after you've taken this advice that we have in the Hermit. So with Temperance, the first thing I want to mention is we have the cycles of the moon on the card here. So that makes me have this feeling of peace and acceptance with the various cycles of your life, since you went through this period of transition and you responded to this challenge, this tribulation in the Judgment card. You feel like you can handle any cycle, any period of life that comes your way. It's this feeling of trust and confidence within yourself. And I feel like this also relates to feeling like an authority figure, trusting your inner wisdom, inner authority, your intuition to guide you through whatever circumstances pop up in your life. I also feel like the stress, the fear, and anxiety that you may have felt in this transitional period has been washed away and replaced with what I just said: peace, self-trust, certainty, Also, I'm getting adaptability. Like, you are going to be able to see how flexible and adaptable you really can be. But moving on, I'm getting another message from this Temperance card of blending together, blending certain elements together. So we are talking about this transition period having to do with physical security. This may be feeling in between houses, in between jobs, and so on. And this card represents the person, the reality that you're stepping into after this transitional period. So with that idea of blending elements, maybe there's certain elements of a new job, house, or something else related to physical security that you will be integrating harmoniously together. And for some reason, I'm also getting brought back to that idea of choosing not to settle, or focusing on everything that you want. Blending elements, you know, finding a home or a job that has every single thing that you want. And this person, this figure, is standing powerfully above the moon cycles. So I feel this sense of control coming from you. Not an overbearing type of control, but a feeling of conscious manifestation. Like you were a part, you were an active participant of manifesting a physical security, like a new job or home, that blends together all of these different elements that serves you, that fits you, that aligns with you. And lastly, with the Temperance card, I'm focusing on these flowers at the bottom. They are white lotuses. Lotus flowers grow in murky, dirty waters. And I feel like that kind of represents the transition period that you're maybe currently experiencing right now. It feels like you're seeing through murky, dirty waters. You're not sure what to do next or what the next step is. But the fact that these flowers are white, I mean, white is connected to purity, but I also connect the color white to our higher selves and to our crown chakra. So that kind of brings me back to this Death card, what I was talking about with the antlers, receiving divine communication from within yourself, being connected to your higher self, and also the Hermit card, being in an open meditative state in solitude where you can receive those messages and insights. So again, it's repeating that message that I'm almost getting a message that you will become unrecognizable. Your life will become unrecognizable after this transition period is over because you chose to listen. Listen consciously to your intuition, to your true desires, your emotions, whatever inspires you and makes you feel passionate, whatever makes you feel fulfilled. You chose to listen to your soul, to your spirit team, your spirit guides. And that is how you're getting out of this period of transition, and your life is turning unrecognizable in a good way, of course. The sun is literally above this figure's head. The sun is shining upon you. The sun can also symbolize luck, success, blessings, feeling confident in yourself. I love that sun in the Temperance card. Usually the Temperance card does not have the sun in it. Just adds another little message for you. Something to look forward to after this challenging time of transition. Okay, so now I'm going to get into all of these little BuzzFeed Oracle cards here. These oracle cards have keywords associated with them in this little book. And it will just give some extra details as to what this transition period entails. Okay, so we have desert here. In the guidebook, it says fierce, heated passion. We also have tornado. In the guidebook, it says rush, quick, scramble. So with the desert card, that kind of reminds me of what I was just talking about, being connected to what makes you feel passionate. But also I feel like whatever happened to cause this transition period, maybe it felt rushed. Like the change happened very quickly. It felt like a tornado fell into your life. Like you had to do something quickly, like you had to scramble to figure something out. It has this feeling of things moving very quickly. And then you have volcano here, which says burst, surge, explode. Okay, this might be a message for a few of you, but with the keywords of burst, surge, explode, maybe this transition period had to do with some kind of, maybe it was a quick decision or a quick choice being made. Maybe you quit your job or chose to abruptly move places, move houses, but it had to do with emotions bubbling under the surface. Like they all of a sudden exploded. And that brings me to the messages that we had here in this death card of whatever you're moving away from, whether that's an old job or a house, it wasn't fulfilling you anymore. And it felt like there was a lot of, I don't know, pent-up emotions having to do with those things, those situations that needed to be released. And it's like you needed to unleash those emotions to make space for something new that is more fulfilling for yourself. Okay, a lot of cards came out for you, so just bear with me here. And we have the color sand. It says slow, gradual, piecemeal. I feel like this is contradicting one of the other messages that we got from another card about things being quick. So maybe after a certain decision was made that caused the period of transition that you're currently experiencing, things started to feel slow, like it was taking a long time to find something new, whether that's a new home or new job or a new thing related to physical security. But we have sand here, and that's bringing you back to the Hermit card. So that's reminding me of those messages of purposefully slowing down to get in a peaceful mindset and solitude and really go through some self-reflection to gain insight as to what the next step is that you should take. And the way that this picture looks, it almost looks like the sand is frozen in time. So I feel like the timing of when this transition period ends is totally up to you, but it may be dependent on going through this hermit period of self-reflection, rebuilding your relationship with your inner authority, with your intuition, to have a clean slate moving forward and to become this version of yourself that we saw in the Temperance card. Okay, so speaking of the version of yourself that we have in the Temperance card, now we have alpaca with the keywords gentle, soft, and easy. That is very much the energy that we have in this Temperance card. This person feels at peace. They feel like they're in their soft girl era because they made peace within themselves with honestly with what transpired during this transition period, what caused it. I feel like there may be some things to process of whatever happened to cause this transition period. Make peace with an old version of yourself that is dying, and make peace with the new one that you are becoming, the new person and version of yourself that you are becoming. Okay, and the last little oracle card that we have here is called Prairie. The keywords are open, opportunity, and reveal. And prairies are open space. This makes me feel connected to the idea of infinite, unlimited possibilities. So I feel like, metaphorically speaking, after this period of transition, you have a blank canvas. You have an open space to create whatever and everything that you want. So whatever you want that new thing to be related to your physical security, whether that's a home, job, or something else, like I was saying in the Temperance card here, you are in creative control. You could paint that blank canvas in whichever way that you like. You don't have to settle for just a few strokes of the paintbrush. You can make an entire masterpiece. Okay, so getting into your last oracle cards here for any additional messages from your spirit team, we have Lord, take charge with authority. And here's another crown symbol, the third one that we had in this reading. And I don't think it's the last because we have another one right here. I'll get into that in a second. But anyway, Lord, take charge with authority. So again, this is bringing emphasis. It's repeating that message of trusting your own authority. And I feel like this is a time period of your life where you're rebuilding trust with that inner authority. So you're being encouraged to make your own voice the ultimate sovereign of making independent decisions. So right now, other people's noise, other people's chatter, it's not relevant to you. And if you need to express yourself and tell people, hey, like I was saying in the Hermit card, hey, I'm not going to listen to your advice. Now's not the time. You know, you could say it in whatever way that you want. You could say it nicer if you so please, but it's really time to put your foot down and step into this new version of yourself where you are listening to your own inner authority and you're trusting the wisdom that comes through from listening to your intuition, your authority, your higher self, your emotions. And again, creative control. When you have that sense of authority, you have creative control to manifest and bring in anything that fits your desires. And this can include blending elements that maybe seemingly don't make sense together, but they're all aligned with you as a soul. Okay, so moving on here, we have the Emperor card. You can't make this shit up. another symbol of authority, of royalty even. The Emperor, I am worthy of respect because I am respectful of all. So with this new stage in your life, you are the emperor of your reality. You are the ultimate independent decision maker of what comes next. And I feel like the respect that you paid other people's opinions in the past, their opinions, their advice, their suggestions, it's now your turn. Sorry for that interruption. My camera got too hot. It had to cool down a little bit. Heated, passion. That was one of the cards that we had here with the desert. And I'm feeling heated and passionate for you with this new version of yourself that you're becoming. Anyway, so going back into these messages with the last oracle cards, we have the Emperor. So what I was saying is the respect that you previously gave to others' opinions, their advice, their suggestions, it is your turn to give that respect to yourself, to what you think is best. Giving that respect that your word is law. I'm thinking of an emperor. What they say, what they decree to the universe is law. And so it is. It just is. So that's the kind of vibe that you're creating. That's the kind of relationship you're creating with yourself during this transitional period. Okay, so lastly, we have the persistent. I hold fast to my goals and ideals as I persevere. So you are being asked to persevere, to be persistent in what you truly want, even if it goes against other people's opinions, thoughts, advice, suggestions, whatever it is, their doubts, their fears that they may project onto you. You are being asked to be persistent in blending together elements that seem like they might not fit. And talking about physical security, this may be not a job that you're working towards where you're going to be working for someone else, but you may be feeling more connected to an entrepreneurial spirit, like you want to create your own business, or like you want to create, I don't know, just create your own job where you're working for yourself, whatever that means to you. And this blends together different elements. This could be blending your knowledge in different fields, different industries, blending together your skills, your expertise that may not normally fit together, but you're creating something where it integrates harmoniously. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting. But whatever it is, you're being asked to be persistent. And if things feel slow at first, it's okay. That is one of the cycles, the phases of this journey that you're being asked to accept from your spirit guides. It won't always be slow. It's kind of interesting. This said, hold fast to my goals and ideals as I persevere. And I was just talking about things being slow. Interesting. I have a feeling that when you really accept this new version of yourself, where you're trusting your own authority, feeling confident and certain in your decisions, taking responsibility for whatever actions that you make moving forward, that things are going to start speeding up. But yes, be persistent. I have a feeling that it's all going to work out in the end, and it's going to work out better than you could have even imagined. Thank you so much, my divine group number 1, for listening to this reading. I hope you found these messages to be helpful and enlightening. Anyway, I am wishing you all the best. I am sending you love and light. And I hope to connect with you in the next one. Bye, divine souls. Hi, my divine group number 2. As you can see, I already have the cards all shuffled out. So let's see what we have for you today. We have the Fool card. Now this card represents the transition that you're currently experiencing. And we have the Nine of Swords. This card represents why you are currently experiencing this period of transition, what you're meant to learn from this period of transition. Next, we have the Nine of Swords in the reverse position. This symbolizes a piece of advice coming through from your spirit team of how to move forward from this period of transition. And lastly, we have the Tower card. Oh, there's actually 2 cards that fell out for what your life will look like after. So we have the Tower card in the reverse position, and we have the card Justice. And these 2 cards together represent what your life will look like after this period of transition is over. Okay, now I have these fun little oracle cards here that just give some additional details as to what the period of transition is. And then some last oracle cards. We have Medicine Mother and the Desirable. Just for some additional messages as we reach the end of the reading. Okay, just give me a second as I get these cards sorted out here. Okay, now I'm going to ask your spirit guides a couple questions about these cards, what they want to say with them, and then I'll get into interpreting what the cards mean. Tom, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to go on the table? No. No, no. No, baby. Come on. Come on. Okay, now I'm going to get started with the Fool card here. So remember, this is representing the period of transition that you're currently experiencing. Since we have the Fool card, this is starting from ground zero. Okay, sorry about that interruption. So my cat was really trying to be part of this reading. He was trying to go onto this table. I don't know if you have a cat, but he was trying to say hi during your reading. Anyway, so going back into the Fool card, this card is all about starting from zero, starting completely over, having to take a leap of faith into something that is completely different from your past. And this could be talking about your past as in, you know, what you've experienced so far in your lifetime, your childhood, but I feel a pull towards beyond that. This could be talking about taking a leap of faith that is different from anything that your family has done in the past, anything that your ancestors have experienced in the past. Very interesting. But yeah, this is starting from scratch, starting from zero, doing something completely different, taking a leap of faith into the beyond. And when you do that, what usually the Fool card talks about is encountering infinite, unlimited possibilities because you took that leap of faith. You took that leap of faith with courage, with an optimistic mindset. The affirmation I often think about when I encounter the Fool card is believing that everything works out best case scenario for you, that the universe conspires in your favor. Okay, so I'm just gonna move right on into the Nine of Swords card. Oh, I just noticed that we have the Nine of Swords and then we have the Nine of Swords again in the reverse position. That is very important. But first, I'm going to dive into this second tarot card that we have right here, the Nine of Swords. Now remember, this represents why you're going through this transition period. Okay, actually scratch that. I'm going back to the Fool card because I forgot to say a few things. So with the Fool card here, I was getting some examples related to this period of transition. The examples that were brought to my mind were someone finding out that they don't like their college major and completely changing it, you know, putting in that effort towards certain course credits, taking classes related to a major they thought they wanted, but then having to start from scratch, you know, starting over in a completely new major. This also can apply to having a job in an industry for a certain amount of years and completely jumping switch, doing a 360 into a new industry. And then the last example I was getting with this card is having a relationship, and I was getting more of a romantic vibe from this example, but being in a relationship, it ending, and it's almost like the person who you thought you're going to be with is not in your life anymore, and it's just like this, what you envisioned for your future romantic life has completely changed. You're having to start over from scratch. And I'll get into that more in detail with these Nine of Swords cards. But I was getting this insinuation that maybe the person, the previous ideal that you held having to do with a person, position, major, it was based off of other people's ideas. But I'll get into that in a second. First, I want to get into these fun little oracle cards here. Now, these oracle cards have keywords associated with them, which I wanted to use as giving a little bit more detail as to what this transition period is. And the purpose of this is to make sure that you chose the right group. Okay, so the first card we have here is Crazy Patterns. In the guidebook, the keywords are lively, animated, eccentric. Interesting. Let me go into these other oracle cards and see what we have to make some sense of that. The next card we have here is Chameleon. The keywords associated with this are flexible, versatile, and resourceful. And then lastly, we have Penguin. Order, uniform, systematic. Okay. So to me, these cards are telling a story. The Crazy Patterns. Okay, so first let's go into the Penguin. It was order, systematic, uniform were the keywords for this card. And then here with the Crazy Patterns card, we have a totally different energy. It was talking about eccentricity, being lively and animated. This Chameleon was talking about being flexible, adaptable, resourceful. So the Crazy Patterns card and the Penguin card are almost representing two different versions, and this could be versions of yourself or versions of the ideal person or situation that you're moving away from and towards another. For example, if you were with someone who was structured, orderly, uniform, but it was almost like you were adapting to other people's wants and desires and expectations for you. But in reality, what is most aligned with the person that you're meant to be with is someone who is eccentric, lively, and animated. And this could apply to yourself as well. Like maybe you were being a social chameleon, you know, putting yourself into a box of being this penguin, pretending like you're someone who's very orderly, structured, and uniform, and doing all the things that you think you should be doing at the right time. But in reality, maybe you're this person being represented by the Crazy Patterns card. You're actually lively, animated, and eccentric, and you've been, I guess, hiding that version of yourself away to adapt and be flexible with other people's vision of who you are and what your life should be. Now, that was just an example, you know, it could be vice versa. Maybe you're pretending to be this crazy patterns person, but you're really this penguin, or the person that you thought you should be with was the crazy patterns person when really you should be with this penguin. Obviously, these are examples. Take what resonates with you. But I feel like that does add some more details as to what this transition is. Okay, so moving on to this next tarot card here, we have the Nine of Swords. Now, with the Nine of Swords card, this card represents why you're going through this period of transition, what you're meant to learn from this period of transition. So the Nine of Swords card typically talks about experiencing anxiety, overwhelming fear, and even insomnia. But it's a swords card, so this has to do with the mental world, your mental world. And what I'm getting specifically from this Nine of Swords card is feeling bogged down by other people's thoughts, their expectations. Yeah, it feels like an idea, other people's ideas of what your identity should be, what kind of life you should lead. And it feels like there's this absorption of these expectations and ideals, these visions from other people, but it may have been affecting you negatively. You know, the Nine of Swords does talk about symptoms of this, like insomnia, feeling anxiety, worry, a sense of dread, feeling like walking on eggshells. That's specifically coming through too. Feeling like you can't truly be yourself. And this could be talking about your family members or other people who are close to you in your life. But yeah, I'm more so getting a connection to people you're close with, not necessarily the outside world, like general society. But it's this feeling of pressure, a pressure to meet people's expectations, to be the version of yourself that they see, that they created in their mind. And so this leap of faith energy with the Fool card here is happening for your benefit. You know, whatever happened in this situation is benefiting you so that you could see how other people's expectations and ideas of your identity has been negatively affecting you. And the next card that we have here is the Nine of Swords in the reverse position. It's very interesting that we have the Nine of Swords card twice. I feel like it's putting, your spirit team is putting an emphasis on the meanings behind this card. And this card represents advice coming through from your spirit team of how to move forward during this period of transition. So first I want to mention in the imagery of this card, we have two figures sleeping, and it looks like they're sleeping peacefully. This is not typically the imagery that you would see on a Nine of Swords card. But honestly, I'm taking this very literally as a piece of advice coming through from your spirit guides is to give yourself a lot of rest. Allow yourself to sleep. I feel like this is rest that you've needed for a long time. And honestly, there's something here energetically speaking about being in a dream state. So allowing yourself that rest, to sleep, to nap, whatever it is allowing yourself to dream. And through those dreams, it's almost like you're working through something. Not only are you processing all that you've absorbed, and going back to this Nine of Swords card, I'm getting like these are intergenerational cycles of expectations and thoughts that are placed upon you that you may not even realize. So your subconscious has a lot to work through. But aside from that, also being in this dream state is allowing you to imagine of what's possible for who you can become, what you can create in your life. Coming from a place of authenticity, what feels true to you as an individual soul, not necessarily rooted in family ties and expectations. Like, our family has done this for generations. Our family has held this perspective of who we should be, how we should carry ourselves in the world, and that's what you should do too. I feel like this is your opportunity to let go of all that. And a big part of letting go of that is through sleeping, rest, dreaming. And I feel like this is how you're going to not only gain acceptance that it's time to break free of this intergenerational cycle, but it's also helping you integrate, helping you align with this new version of yourself that takes the leap of faith, that has courage to start over from scratch and do something completely different than what's expected. Okay, so moving on here, we have the Tower card and the Justice card. These two cards represent what your life will look like after this transition period is over, after you've taken and applied this advice into your life. So before I get into the meanings of this card, I do want to point out that with these two cards and the card we got in the beginning here, the Fool, these are major arcana cards. So this is a pivotal plot point of your life story, of your narrative. Okay, so now going into the Tower card. First, I want to mention that the Tower card is in the reverse position. So what I'm getting from the Tower card is, well, first we have those messages that the Tower typically talks about, which is a shaky foundation crumbling. And we kind of got that message here with the Fool, like starting over from scratch, a foundation that you previously had laid, effort that you put into that foundation is no longer working for whatever reason. It ended, maybe that was out of your control, or you consciously made the choice to change your mind, change your direction, make a new decision that is not necessarily paired or using the effort that you put into a previous thing. Remember the examples we had before of someone putting all this effort into their college major and then completely changing it. Anyway, going back to the Tower card, so I'm being very pulled to the message here from your spirit team of breaking a long-standing issue or cycle. So going back into the Nine of Swords card, I was talking about intergenerational cycles. Insomnia, anxiety, a sense of worry, dread, and fear. Also a feeling of everyone's eyes being on you, or being sensitive to what people think about you. If you're aligning with other people's expectations, a feeling of having to walk on eggshells, so to speak. wanting to align with a behavior or a persona that is expected of you. But I'm seeing that cycle ending here. So with that cycle ending, if you were experiencing those symptoms of the Nine of Swords, like insomnia, anxiety, worry, fear, dread, over-analysis, yes, that's something that's coming through. An over-analysis of your own behavior, of what other people think of you. That is a long-standing issue cycle that is coming to a close. Wow. I'm very happy to hear that. I can just feel the relief. Feels very freeing. And I also want to point out here that in the imagery of this card, we also have someone falling. But it looks like they're falling peacefully. Like the Fool card here, looks like they're jumping willingly, freely. Okay, and then with your last tarot card here, we have the Justice card. Now, a couple of things are coming through from this card. First, I want to focus on the imagery of this card. Look at this person here. It looks like a shell of who they once were is cracking open, and a new version of themselves is coming through, almost like a butterfly coming out of their cocoon, right? So I feel like after this transition period is over, there's also going to be this freeing energy of allowing a version of yourself, an identity, to be free, to exist freely. And again, I'm reminded of these aura cards that we had on the bottom here, of the contrast between this crazy patterns, you know, being lively, eccentric, animated energy, with the penguin being orderly, uniform, structured. That is very contradicting. So I can see, you know, whatever old version of yourself that you're trying to fit, whatever box you're trying to put yourself into, is quite frankly not holding you back anymore. And you feel more at peace and more free to express yourself authentically in whatever version of yourself that you resonate, whether that's the penguin or the crazy patterns card here. But it's almost like you no longer have to adapt. You no longer feel that it's necessary to adapt to who you're talking to or adapt to the situation and wear a mask, so to speak, that hides your true self. And also with the Justice card here, I feel like justice is being served. And also I'm being reminded of the message of receiving good fortune. So after this transition period is over and you take that leap of faith, you allow yourself to rest, sleep, be in a dream state, to change your identity. I feel that things will be going your way. Like the affirmations we're saying in the Fool card, it feels like, you know, everything working out best case scenario for you will be manifested. And that shows here in the Justice card. For some reason, this also reminds me of the intergenerational cycles we were talking about, that maybe spans further in the past than just your lifetime. You know, this could be ancestral cycles that you're breaking free of. So it feels like justice is being served, not only for yourself, but for your ancestors, for past generations who felt like they needed to fit a certain mold in order to survive, in order to be accepted. Yeah, I just keep going back to the idea of things going in your favor. So after you take this leap of faith, whatever path that you choose to go on, and a reminder, it's probably going to be completely different. You're going to be starting from zero, starting from scratch. But I see things going in your favor. Justice being served in a good way for you. Yeah, because you've released karma. And the way I see karma, the way I perceive karma, is learning lessons. So you're learning a very powerful lesson of breaking yourself free from intergenerational and ancestral cycles that were holding you back from expressing yourself with the most authenticity possible, for doing what you actually want to do, or being with the person you actually want to be with. Okay, so let's close off the reading here with some oracle cards. We have this card here called Medicine Mother. Honor your inner knowing. This card has a very ancient energy to it. As you can see, the person is wearing tribal garments, wearing traditional makeup. It feels like it's connected to history. So maybe there was an ancestor related to you and your family who felt like they couldn't honor their inner knowing. And now you're breaking a cycle by honoring yours. Interesting. It says honor your inner knowing. So I feel like even though you're taking this leap of faith, you might be jumping into something that you've always been interested in. Or, yeah, it's almost like something that was nagging at you. Something you felt passionate about, inspired about, but you felt like that desire or that dream was not accepted or was not expected of you by the people that you love, by your family, by generations that came before you. But by honoring your inner knowing, it's almost like you're giving yourself the medicine that you need to take this leap of faith, to go forward, to give yourself the justice that you deserve. And if you're a little confused right now, that might be residual thoughts and expectations from other people. Remember what we were talking about in the Nine of Swords. So that is why sleep and rest, being in a dream state, is important. So you can get very clear on connecting to your own intuition, your own inner knowing, to guide you. Okay, with the last oracle card here, we have the Desirable. I accept my desires as a pure expression of my essential self. Okay, so I feel like that is repeating what we were just talking about. You know, getting in touch with your desires, with what lights you up, what makes you feel passionate and inspired, and taking that as a pure expression of your essential self, a true expression of who you are as an individual soul, not who you think you're supposed to be. So whatever the transition is, whether you're moving from a career choice, a major choice, a relationship, whatever it is, I feel like you're moving into a version of yourself that allows yourself, that gives yourself permission to desire the things that you truly want. And that in itself is helping you break free of this intergenerational ancestral cycle, because I feel like people in your ancestral line did not allow themselves to desire what they truly want. That is justice, not only for you, but for your ancestors and for future generations to come. You're starting from zero. You're taking that leap of faith, doing something different than everyone else who you love, everyone in your family, and that's going to pave a path for future generations to come, to give them permission to do that, because you already did it. You're the first one to do it. So I'm rooting for you, whatever you're the first one to do. I am supporting you. Your spirit team is supporting you. That is all the messages that I have for you in this reading. I hope you found these messages to be helpful and enlightening. I am wishing you all the best. I am sending you love and light, and I hope to connect with you in the next one. Bye, Divine Souls. Hi, my Divine Group number 3. For this pick a card reading all about transitions. So in this reading, we're going to look at what transitional period you're currently experiencing, the details of that transitional period, why you're experiencing this period of transition in your life, some advice coming through from your spirit team about how to move forward from this period of transition, and what your life will look like after you take in that advice, apply it to your life after the transition period is over. And we'll also get some additional messages from oracle cards as well. So as you can see, I already have the cards shuffled out for you. So let's lay them out and see what we have. Okay, we have the Devil card in reverse. This represents the current transitional period that you're experiencing. We have the Ace of Cups in reverse. This is the reason why you're experiencing this period of transition. And we have the Devil card in reverse again. Okay, so already the Devil card has a very important message, very important theme to this transition in your life. But this second Devil card represents the advice that you're getting from your spirit guides of how to move forward from this transition. With this card here, we have the Lovers in reverse, and this is representing what your life will look like after the transition period is over. Okay, I might have to move some things around here just so all of the cards can fit, because we also have some oracle cards here. Now, these are fun little BuzzFeed oracle cards that can give some additional details of the transition period that you're currently experiencing. And they're mostly going to serve as confirmation that you chose the right group. And then we have these two oracle cards here, which serve as additional messages that your spirit team may have for you. All right, before I get started, I'm just going to tune in to your spirit guides, your spirit team, ask them a couple of questions, and then I'll get into interpreting what these cards mean. All right, I asked your spirit guides some questions, got clear on the energies that we have here. And now I'm going to get started reading from left to right. Now, let me start off by saying that this reading in particular has a heavy energy about it. And a lot of that comes from these two Devil cards, which I'll get into explaining in a second. It's nothing to be scared of, but just be aware that this reading may bring up some heavy energies for you, heavy emotions, heavy memories of the past. So just beware. I know you're strong enough to keep watching, to keep going forward through this journey, but I just wanted to let you know before I get started. Anyway, so we have the Devil card in reverse. Now, since this is the card that's describing the transitional period that you're currently experiencing, I was getting that for some of you, this represents a unhealthy or toxic relationship or even relationship cycle that you are transitioning away from. So you may have already broken up with the person in question, or you're currently taking action to separate yourself from this person or these types of relationships. But this is someone who feels very controlling, who almost lands on the spectrum of being narcissistic. Maybe they see you and the relationship that you have with them selfishly. So they're more focused on what can this person do for me? How can they fill my sense of desire or wants, my needs? So that's what I mean by veering on the spectrum of being narcissistic. But there's also a sense of overbearing control that comes with that sense of narcissism that is coming through from the other person or relationship that we're talking about here. And for others of you who chose this group, I'm getting that this transition period has to do with unhealthy habits, toxic cycles, and this could be talking about addiction in one form or the other. But there's a silver lining here. I don't want you to get scared off by hearing this, because we have the Devil card twice and they both came out in the reverse position. Now I shuffled these cards and these are two separate decks, okay? So I don't think it's a coincidence that they fell out repetitively and in the same reverse position. Now what I'm reading from this reverse position of these Devil cards is that you are breaking free from this cycle, from those relationship cycles, from feeling controlled either by someone else, a relationship cycle, an addiction, an unhealthy behavior. Whatever it is, you are breaking free from being controlled by those things in your life. So let me get into these BuzzFeed Oracle cards. They will give us a couple of additional details as to what this transition period is for my divine group number 3s. And in the BuzzFeed Oracle book, these cards are associated with some keywords. So it keeps it quick and easy, giving some additional details. Let me just look into the book to see what those keywords are. Okay, so the first card here we have Mirage. In the book it reads illusion, mystery, misconception. Yeah, I feel like you are breaking free from illusions that kept you in a cycle of control, whether that's related to a person, unhealthy habit, addiction, whatever it is. I feel like you're solving some mystery. The way out, the way to break free from this cycle is you're solving some mystery or you're resolving some misconception. And I'll get into that when I get into the second Devil card here, but let me get into these other keywords. Okay, so the second card that we have here is Fox. The keywords are cunning, sly, mischievous. All right, so I feel like that is confirming the messages I was getting about leaving a relationship cycle or a specific relationship with people or a person who has narcissistic tendencies. Maybe they are like this fox. They were being cunning, sly, and mischievous to manipulate you, to control you, to get what they wanted from you being in their life. Also, I'm just getting the intuitive psychic message here, and I just got random chills. It's definitely not cold outside. That Your spirit team really wants you to know that yes, they're confirming that yes, you were being gaslit. They were gaslighting you. They made you feel crazy. But your spirit guides are giving you support, giving you some reassurance that what you felt was true actually is. Okay, moving on now. All right, so the last keywords are overshadow, dominate, influence. Wow, these keywords just confirmed everything I just said. So it said overshadow, dominate, influence. So yes, there is a dominating influence in your life that felt like it was overshadowing you, overshadowing your true self, your truth. Yeah, truth. But like I said before, you're breaking free from those cycles of feeling dominated by an overshadowing influence, by feeling controlled by someone or something that feels cunning, mischievous, sly. You're breaking free from that mirage, that illusion, by solving a mystery, by reinterpreting a previous misconception. Okay, so wow, that was a lot. That was a lot just for the beginning of the reading, but let's get into your next tarot card here with the Ace of Cups in the reverse position. So remember, this explains why you're going through this transitional period. Now, you're going through this transitional period because, quite frankly, what was going on in your life before then was emotionally unfulfilling. And in fact, I'm getting an energy of feeling like emotional fulfillment was being taken away from you, like your cup felt empty. And again, you know, going back to that devil card energy, this could be related to a person, relationship, unhealthy habits, addiction, whatever it is. But after interacting with that person or unhealthy habit, you were left feeling depleted. I'm getting this was emotional, mental, and physical. You were feeling depleted in all ways. So that shows that whatever interaction you had in this devil card cycle was not fulfilling for you. It was leading you to feel empty inside. So this is why you're going through this transitional period. You're working on feeling fulfilled, feeling whole, outside of external influences, whether that's a person, a drug, unhealthy habit, whatever it is. I feel like you're coming back to yourself outside of outside influences. Okay, so moving on here, we have the Devil card. Okay, actually, scratch that. Before I move on, look at this person sitting alone. Looks like they're in solitude. They may be meditating. So that is a clue that I'm carrying with us to this next Devil card. This next Devil card is all about looking within, searching for the root cause. How did this addiction cycle, this cycle of unhealthy habits, this toxic relationship pattern begin? Why did it begin? We're looking at the root causes here, and the only way that you can find those root causes is by looking within yourself. And of course, you can get help by doing this through getting readings, through seeing a therapist, through talking it out with, a close, trusted individual, through journaling, through meditating, through going to the spirit realm. The list goes on. But you are being encouraged, this is advice coming through from your spirit guides, to look within, to find those root causes. And I keep getting pulled back to the past, ties to the past. If you see on the imagery of this card, it looks like there's strings on this woman's hands, like puppet strings. In the past, this could be far back in the past, your childhood. If you believe in this, your past lives. But let's connect to the version of yourself where you felt controlled, where you felt suppressed, where you felt like you could not express your true thoughts, opinions, ideas. You felt limited. You felt like you were walking on eggshells. You felt like people wouldn't believe you. And as time went on, I feel like those events from your past became the root cause. It led to a feeling of emptiness that you wanted to fill. And you chose to fill that with what we're talking about in the Devil card, with patterns of addiction, unhealthy habits, unhealthy relationship patterns. Looking for something or someone to fill that sense of emptiness, to help you feel whole, help you feel euphoric even. But again, with the Ace of Cups card, this is no longer serving you. So you're choosing to break away from those patterns and those cycles that are no longer serving you. They may have served you in the past to help you temporarily feel more fulfilled, more whole. But over time, your true emotions coming in through your soul, your higher self, has come out. And there's no ignoring them anymore. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. Why did you choose to feel controlled? Either by a person, a substance, a habit, whatever it is. What was that giving you in the moment? And why? Now, this answer is probably going to be different for everyone watching this. And I hope that you can see, can feel that I'm saying this with the utmost sincerity, the utmost care, genuine care for you as a person, without judgment, without shame, without guilt. And I don't know why, when I say this to you, it makes me want to cry. But we're here for you. Your spirit team is here for you. It's hard to go from this devil energy and break free from it. So we want to honor your strength, your courage. Okay, and with that message, let's go into the Lovers card in reverse. So I'm not taking the typical reverse interpretation of this Lovers card. I'm getting the messages from your spirit team that this Lovers card in reverse represents you breaking free from disharmony. So again, going back to relationships, going back to unhealthy habits, patterns of addiction, whatever it is. Those things were creating a sense of disharmony in your life. And they're no longer aligned with you or who you're becoming. So with this card coming out in the reverse position, next to the Devil card, this is what you're breaking free of. That sense of disharmony, that sense of feeling emotionally, mentally, and physically depleted after interacting with the person, substance, habit, whatever it is. And I want to add another message here. I'm getting that you're coming back into union. You're coming into union with yourself and with the truth. Again, a mirage, an illusion, a misconception is being lifted. And that all starts from within. Okay, so let's get some additional messages from your spirit guides, from your spirit team. We have Elder. Move beyond ancestral patterns. Okay. The energy that I'm getting from this card of Elder, this could be a long-standing cycle that you are breaking free from that has ancestral ties. Perhaps your ancestors were also stuck in these loops of feeling controlled, these loops of feeling distracted. Feeling distracted. Distracted from your true purpose. Okay, that's a very specific message. These loops of feeling controlled, feeling influenced by overshadowing, domineering presences or energies, feeling disempowered by looking within, by recognizing the what, the why, the how of this cycle that you're exiting. You are breaking free from an ancestral pattern. Maybe your ancestors didn't look within, or they were scared to. They chose not to because of what they might find. But you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for them. You're clearing ancestral karma, clearing generational cycle here. Wow, the energy is very powerful. It's heavy, but through that heaviness is empowerment. Becoming free from restriction and limitation and control. That is empowerment. Okay, so we have your last oracle card here. Oh, peep the butterfly wings. You see that? We also had butterfly wings in this devil card. Now, I typically perceive butterfly wings as metamorphosis, transformation, and ooh, look at the fire here. Fire also reminds me of transformation, cleansing, renewal, rebirth. But with the message of fire, this is transformation and metamorphosis through burning down old habits, old cycles, old patterns, letting those things metaphorically die. Burning bridges, that is something that's coming through now. Burning bridges. If there is someone who represented, a toxic, narcissistic relationship pattern or cycle, or people who you knew when you were engaging in unhealthy behaviors or habits or addiction, I think your spirit guides are encouraging you to burn those bridges, to cut ties, because in moving away from those habits and those cycles, breaking free from them, that includes being influenced by people who you knew while you were stuck in that loop. Okay, anyway, going back into this oracle card here. The butterfly wings, metamorphosis, change. On the back of the card, it reads, the truthful. I speak my truth and expect everyone I care about to do so too. So there is some truth that is being awoken inside of you. Some truth that maybe you felt like you weren't allowed to express in the past. Maybe you felt suppressed. Again, going back to that devil card about things happening in the past, right? feeling controlled, limited, suppressed. And this pattern was repeated in this devil cycle. That past pattern that maybe from childhood, even beyond that in past lives, was repeated in this devil card cycle. Again, I'm going back to the message of feeling gaslit, feeling like someone is gaslighting you. It makes you confused in seeing some type of illusion, even though you knew the truth, but you felt like you couldn't speak it without feeling some resistance, without feeling judgment, feeling shame, feeling guilt. So I feel like now you're ready to speak not only the truth to yourself, hold it within yourself of the what, the how, the why you got into this loop, this cycle. But you're ready to express it outwards after going through this period of inner work. You're ready to express it to those you care about, to tell them the truth, to be your true self that is more aligned, more fulfilled, emotionally, mentally, physically. And oh, the Lover's card is pointing into this Oracle card. So with this transition period being over in the future, you are going to attract people who mirror you. Since you're telling yourself the truth, being honest with yourself, facing your past, becoming aligned with a truer version of yourself, those are the people who you will attract. People who tell you the truth, who are honest. And that includes not gaslighting you, not manipulating you or controlling you for their own benefit, not having an unhealthy influence on you. You will attract people and things who are aligned with your truth, and people who are true to themselves as well. So this will be indicative of more harmony in your life. Aw, that's such a good message to end off on. I'm so happy to hear that after this heavy period of transition, there will be a lot more truth, a lot more harmony, a lot more fulfillment and alignment in your life. Because you've been through a lot. You deserve it. Anyway, those are all the messages that I have for you, my Divine Group number 3s. Thank you so much for allowing me to read for you. If you don't want to miss another pick a card reading from me, please subscribe to my channel at Divine Design Tarot. And if you would like to book a personal one-on-one reading with me, you could do so on my website at divinedesigntarot.com. The link is down below. Anyway, I am wishing you all the best. I'm sending you love and light, and I hope to connect with you in the next one. Bye, Divine Souls. Hi, my Divine Group number 4s. This reading is for all those who chose group number 4. For this pick a card reading about a transitional period that you are currently experiencing in your life. Now, as you can see, I already have the cards shuffled out here for you, so let's go ahead and lay them out and see what we have for you. We have the Two of Swords. Now, this card is going to be representing the transitional period that you are currently experiencing. We have the Justice card. This card represents the reason why you're experiencing this period of transition. We have the Page of Wands in the reverse position and the Eight of Wands in the reverse position. This card here represents advice coming through from your spirit guides as to how to move on from this period of transition, and we have the Eight of Wands, which represents what your life will look like moving forward after this transitional period is over. And then we have some fun little oracle cards here from the BuzzFeed Oracle deck, which are associated with some keywords. And I'm going to use this to describe additional details of the transitional period that you're currently experiencing, as well as serve as confirmation that you chose the right group. And then lastly, we have some oracle cards here for you, which serve as any additional messages that your spirit team would like to tell you for this reading today. Okay, so before I get started into explaining what the cards mean, the messages that we have for you today, I'm going to tune into the energies of the cards and ask your spirit guides a couple of questions, and then I'll get started. Okay, so now that I got all the messages that I need from your spirit guides and connected to the energies of your cards, let's get into it. I'm going to start reading from left to right. So again, with the Two of Swords, this represents the current transitional period that you are experiencing. With the Two of Swords, this is talking about feeling stuck between two different paths, two different ways of thinking, two different ways of approaching something. And it comes with a sense of confusion, indecisiveness, a heavy energy of analysis paralysis. So this is overthinking all of the potential outcomes, all of the potential options. But at this point in time, you're facing a fork in the road where you can choose between different paths. And the messages I'm getting from your spirit guides is that the way you're approaching that fork in the road, you know, having to choose between two actions, two choices, two paths, is causing a sense of confusion, because I feel like your perspective has been very black or white. Meaning I could either choose this path, I could take that action, or the other one. And there's no sense of integration or considering that there might be a third path, a third choice that combines those two paths that you're considering, that combines those two choices, those two actions, a third path that has all of the elements combined. Okay, so this message is going to be repeated a bunch of times in this reading. We have black and white imagery in every single one of the tarot cards that came out for you today. That's screaming to me integration, integrating black and white. You know, whatever the black and white represents, what paths they represent, integrating them instead of seeing them as being separate. Because your spirit guides, I feel like once you're able to integrate or even accept that this is a possibility, that it will be much easier for you to take action instead of being stuck in your head. And you know, this Two of Swords energy, it could be about anything. I was getting some heavy career energy for some of you, but whatever popped into your head when I'm describing this card, take that. Take what resonates. Because this is a general collective reading, pick a card reading. So your part in participating in this pick card reading is listening to those intuitive thoughts, those intuitive feelings that arise for you. Anyway, getting off on a tangent. Let's move into the Justice card. So as you can see, okay, so we first started here with a black and white checkerboard, right? Feeling stuck between what move, what action to make next. And then we have another black and white imagery here, but it's showing that this person is black and white. It's showing a sense of integration, but it's within one person, one being. Okay, very interesting. That message is being repeated again. Oh, okay, wait, hold on a second. Stop right there. I forgot to get into these BuzzFeed Oracle cards because these are going to serve as more confirmation related to this transitional period energy of the Two of Swords that you picked the right group, and just give some additional details with the keywords that come out. And a lot of cards came out for you, but it's short keywords, so I took them all. Let's look into the guidebook here. Interesting. We have amethyst. The keywords are intuition, trust your gut, instinctive. So that is a message that we'll get into further along in the reading. I have a feeling it's going to be with this Page of Wands card, but this is advice coming through from your spirit guides that in interacting or approaching this period of transition, you're being encouraged to use your intuition, use your instincts, trust your gut instead of being stuck in analysis paralysis. Okay. So the next card we have is wine. The keywords are happy, pleasant, social. Now I'm getting a very specific message from those keywords that maybe getting out of your head is going to happen when you're being social, when you're enjoying the moment, when you're having fun, you know, enjoying your time with others, something like that, but it's going to help you get out of your head, to stop overthinking the next action or decision in your life. Okay, so we kind of have that message being repeated here with the peach card. The keywords are dandy, agreeable, and joyful. Okay. For some reason, this is reminding me of the sacral chakra. I feel like that's important because I was getting some feelings of sacral chakra energy in this Page of Wands card too, which again, I'll get into in a second. So yes, this is repeating the messages we got with the wine card. Enjoying yourself, enjoying the moment. I feel like that is going to help you get out of that state of confusion, of indecision, of analysis paralysis. So with this next card, we have flip phones. The keywords are serious, down to business, diligent. So maybe this is a part of yourself, a layer of yourself. Maybe there's a layer of yourself that's very serious, gets down to business, is very diligent. And this is the layer of yourself that also encourages you to overthink, to analyze every single consequence, outcome, choice, path, whatever it is. And this layer of yourself kind of needs to chill out. Again, there's a smile on the flip phone, which is reminding me of the messages we just got with the peach and the wine cards about enjoying yourself, having fun, letting loose, getting out of your head, letting this layer of yourself chill out for a little while. Okay, so the next card we have here is Shark. The key words for this card are aggressive, danger, and warning. It's interesting that we have flip phone here, and then we also have a phone here in the shark card, but it's more modern. That's interesting. Interesting. I'm not getting that there's like a serious threat coming after you. We had the keyword of warning. But I'm not getting like a sense of serious threat. It's more that it's more like if you choose to keep focusing on, or if you choose to keep approaching this Two of Swords energy with that layer of yourself who's very serious, down to business, analytical, you know, overthinking everything, then it may lead you to choosing a path that is not serving you completely. Like maybe it has some elements that you desire or that could fulfill you, but it doesn't have everything. And that might be repeating a cycle of the past where you're letting your analytical mind guide you through making choices, and then you end up finding out that there are some disadvantages or some undesirable elements or consequences to that decision you made with your analytical mind that cannot be perceived with just your analytical mind. Again, this is getting back to using your intuition, using your instincts, listening to your gut. That's what's going to serve you most in getting everything you want out of this transitional period. Okay, so moving on to the Justice card. So as I was saying before, there's a lot of black and white imagery. As you can see, this person literally has the black and white colors. It's like they're made of black and white, but it's like two halves, two parts of themselves coming together. They're an integration because these are colors of a whole being. So instead of the black and white thinking, it's being integrated into a whole. So I feel like, again, with the representation of this card, it's supposed to represent why you're going through this transitional period. This is an opportunity for you to integrate black and white thinking. So it's not black or white, it's both. And how can we integrate the elements, the details of those things, whatever it is, into one coherent, harmonious, I don't know, I want to say recipe. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm getting confused from all of this confusion here. All right, tuning back in, jokes aside. When we're talking about the black and white thinking, you know, I feel like you're considering different paths, different choices, right? And so in this integration that we see in the Justice card, it's almost like integrating those certain elements or even versions of yourself that you would be by choosing those paths, by making those actions and integrating those versions into one person, choosing the third option that combines elements from both separate paths. This could also be about combining skills that you have that would be related to two different paths, two different industries, combining knowledge that you have that seems separate, but you can find a way to combine them. Even combining desires, like you may have conflicting desires of going one direction, going the other direction, but there is a possibility of combining both of those desires, both of those interests, both of those inspirations. Okay, and I was getting some additional messages from this Justice card. Why you're experiencing this period of transition is actually a karmic reward. Now, that is a message that you can traditionally grab from the Justice card's meaning, but in this situation, it doesn't fit the usual definition or interpretation that one would guess from a karmic reward. You wouldn't guess that feeling confused or stuck, indecisive between different paths or different options would be a reward, but in fact it is. And what's coming through from your spirit guides is that you are being rewarded by having choices, by having multiple options. Okay, so maybe this is something that you didn't have in the past. Maybe it was you had a one-track mind, so to speak. So you were very laser focused on one path. And for whatever reason, that path wasn't serving you, it wasn't right for you. So now you have the reward, since you broke free of that cycle of a one-track mind, a one-track path. You're receiving the reward of having multiple options. But again, going back to that reason why, that lesson learning you're going through is, since you have multiple options, multiple paths now, you're learning the power of discernment. And going back to those messages we had with the shark card, with the amethyst card here, you're being encouraged to not primarily rely on your analytical mind to choose a path, to make a choice. It's going to come from your intuition, your instincts, listening to your gut. And that message is being repeated here by the Page of Wands. Now, again, this card represents advice coming through from your spirit guides. So first things first, let me mention here, we have more black and white imagery. This person looks like they're in a black and white filter and the world around them is in color. Very interesting, right? Almost like they integrated black and white thinking that we're talking about in the Two of Swords card and the Justice card. They integrated it into their being. So that repeats the advice that's coming through from your spirit guides of integrating skills, knowledge, interests, desires, elements or details of certain paths, certain choices, integrating those things together to create something new, something whole, a third choice, a third option, a third path. And it's interesting here in the imagery because we have a black cat in this space right here. Let me turn it this way. We have a black cat here in the sacral and root chakra spaces. Very interesting. So the message I'm getting from that imagery and from your spirit guides is that there may be some shadow work having to do with your sacral and root chakras. So that is all about feeling safe. Yeah, feeling safe to choose the third option, to create the third path, whatever that means for you. And with the sacral chakra, I'm getting a feeling of trust, like you are being encouraged to redefine a sense of trust within yourself. Oh, okay. So I'm getting more details from your spirit guides now that The reason why you're in this overthinking phase, feeling confused, feeling indecisive, feeling analysis paralysis, is that you may have made a choice in the past that did not end well for you. Interesting. It was not fulfilling. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be. So because of that past choice, there's some residue, so to speak, that's causing you to feel confused, like you can't trust yourself to make choices. So that is where the shadow work comes in. Regaining a sense of trust within yourself to make the right decision. And the way that you're going to be doing that is not through your analytical mind, because maybe that's what happened in the past. Maybe you gave too much power to your analytical mind, and that led to that one path that you're laser focused on, and then it turned out to not be what you thought it was. That path didn't make you feel the way you thought it was going to make you feel. So the advice coming through from your spirit guides is that you're going to want to focus on, again, your intuition, your instincts, you're listening to your gut, but you're going to have to redefine your relationship with your intuition with a sense, you're going to rebuild a sense of self-trust in your innate instinctual ability to make decisions, to take action. And also, along with that, you're being advised from your spirit guides to allow not only your intuition to guide you, but also your emotions. The Page of Wands often carries an energy of taking action on a whim. And to others, in other situations, for other people, this can talk about taking reckless action. So I feel like there is a fear within you that you're working through right now of taking reckless action, taking action that leads to undesirable outcomes. But in this case, your spirit guides are saying it's okay for you to do that. In fact, they want you to do that. In this case, it's not going to lead to regret. I'm hearing that things are going to go in your favor. Good fortune. Karmic reward. Those are messages from the Justice card. This is your opportunity. Interesting. Okay. So follow those emotions that come up. What makes you feel inspired? What makes you feel passionate? And that might include, again, a blending of certain skills, knowledge, even versions of yourself. Blending that all together and finding an opportunity or an option, a path that aligns with that blending. All right. I think that's all I want to say with the Page of Wands. So the next card we have here is the Eight of Wands. Now, let me show you the imagery of this card. Again, black and white colors. But as you can see in the imagery of this card, they're blended together. They're one line, if so to speak. And if you can see that after images of this person, it looks like they're running, they're moving fast. So fast that the camera can't capture it. And this is reminding me of hummingbirds. You know how you take a picture of a hummingbird, and if you don't have that detection speed on your camera, like if you're using your phone, you're not going to see their wings. It's going to look like a blur, right? So that has to do with the messages of the Eight of Wands card. Remember, this card represents what your life will look like after this transitional period is over, after you take the advice that we had in the Page of Wands card. And the Eight of Wands is all about momentum, fast moving energy, fast moving opportunities. So once you blend together, you know, the black and white that we're talking about here, whatever that may be, there's going to be a lot of opportunities flying to you. Since you're going to have a lot of opportunities flying to you, it's a good thing that you took the time to tune in with yourself, you know, listen to your intuition, listen to the emotions that are coming up for you, because you're going to need that power of discernment that you learned through this transitional period. And then with your last oracle cards that we have for you, we have the Animal Guardian, trust your instincts. Okay, so we hear you, Spirit Guides. Those messages are being repeated again and again and again, to trust your instincts. And we have an owl here. And then the next card is Eagle. So we have a lot of bird energy here. And these types of birds, they have the power of perspective. You know, they could see the bigger picture. Seeing from an aerial view up above the clouds. Pardon the interruption, my camera got overheated and it shut down. So going back into the messages that we're talking about with these oracle cards, we have two birds here, right? And these two birds are associated with seeing a higher perspective or aerial view, but also being able to zoom into the details. Now, what I'm getting from your spirit guides is that the layer of you that you has been having the most influence or the most power over your decisions has been the version of you who pays attention to all the details, having laser focus on those details. But what I'm getting here, especially with the messages, the message that we have at the bottom of this card, see from a higher perspective, you're being encouraged to connect to the version of you or the layer of yourself that zooms out, that can see the bigger picture. Not only focusing on those small little details, right? Because like we saw in the Two of Swords, that has been creating a sense of confusion, indecisiveness, analysis paralysis. So yeah, trust your instincts, use your intuition, use your emotions to guide you in choosing your next path, and also see from a higher perspective, zooming out. And I feel like zooming out will also help you see that there is the possibility of that third option, that third path. It's not just one or the other. There's a possibility of combining, like we're talking about, different elements, different skill sets you have, different expertise or knowledge, different versions of yourself, different interests. And with your last card here, we have the Seeker. It says, I seek new friends and experiences to expand my awareness. So we have another card talking about expanding your awareness. And this is actually reminding me of the cards that we had here with peach and wine, talking about being social, having fun, being joyful, enjoying yourself. So by going out into the world, like seeking new friends and having new experiences, this will help you get out of your head. It will help you expand your awareness. And I feel like it also will help you accept or see that a third option, a third path choice is in fact a possibility for you. It's not just one or the other. I don't think you have to settle for one or the other. You can have both blended together. And that's what I like to see. Blending together different elements, different versions of yourself into a coherent, harmonious one. Anyway, thank you so much for allowing me to be your reader today. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you don't want to miss another pick a card reading from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to book a one-on-one session with me, you could do so on my website at divinedesigntarot.com. The link is in my bio. Anyway, I am wishing you all the best. I'm sending you love and light. And I hope to connect with you in the next one. Bye, Divine Souls.